In this edition of 5 for Fun, I highlight 5 Gamecube games that, statistically speaking, can be considered hidden gems in the truest sense of the phrase. The Gamecube itself has gone down as somewhat of a hidden gem, but if you find yourself giving this system a chance, then join me for the next few minutes and take a look at what I've found. Before diving in, let's quickly go over the parameters of what I mean when I say a statistically hidden gem. It involves 3 stages of filtering: original sales, review scores, and exclusivity. Sales-wise, I'm limiting the selection pool to games that originally sold no more than 110,000 units in the United States. The average Gamecube game sold around 260,000 units in the US, so this is a strict filter. And it should be strict, because a game can hardly be considered a hidden anything if there are hundreds of thousands or millions of copies floating around today. Now, there were 552 games released on the Gamecube in North America, but this first criterion leaves us with 270 games. Next, I'm limiting this to games that scored relatively highly on IGN's original review of the game. And out of the 270 games with no more than 110,000 in sales, only 80 of them had an IGN score at or above a 7.8, a score that I consider to be relatively high. I'm also including GameSpot's review scores to add a little balance and a second opinion. Finally, out of those 80 remaining games, I'm only going to consider those games that were Gamecube exclusives, at least originally. This takes us from 80 games all the way down to 6. And from those 6, I eliminated one of them based simply on personal preference. One quick note here before we proceed. As always, I haven't extensively played every game on this list, but that's okay because this list isn't about my opinion. It's about using the underlying statistics to bring to light potential gems that you might not have considered as of yet. So without further ado, here are the top 5 statistically hidden gems on Gamecube. Number 5. Kicking off the list with 110,000 units sold, and coming in just under our sales limit, it's Geist, published by Nintendo. This one pulled respectable scores from both IGN and GameSpot, a pair of 7.8s, and I can tell you from my analysis of review scores that it's very rare for a game to get equivalent scores like this from both outlets. IGN described the game as being geared toward an adult crowd, a game that has all the makings of a great first-person adventure, only hampered by less than stellar visuals and some performance issues. GameSpot said that the game serves as a reminder that original game design and first-person perspective are not mutually exclusive concepts. This one can be had relatively cheaply on eBay, going for about $8 loose and $16 complete. Number 4. Coming in with a modest 80,000 units sold, it's Beach Spikers from Sega. This is another game with essentially identical review scores from both IGN and GameSpot. And for GameSpot, at least back then, anything over an 8 is worth paying attention to. In their review, GameSpot accused the game of pandering slightly with its provocative graphics, but they also point out that the game is immensely enjoyable and warrants the attention of any player looking for some fun, fast-paced, arcade-style action. IGN, for their part, said that it's one of the most enjoyable experiences to be had on the Gamecube. Very enjoyable as a multiplayer game. You can pick this one up today for around $7 loose and $12 complete. Not too bad. Number 3. Coming in with 60,000 units sold, it's Phantasy Star Online Episode 3 Card Revolution. IGN rated this one with a high 8.5 and GameSpot a respectable 7.2. And the truth is, this one probably would have been higher on my list, but given that a component of this game is its online play, it's hard to rate higher than this in 2018. Having said that, at the time, IGN wrote that the game is a ton of fun to play offline, and comes with a compelling storyline for the single-player experience. In fact, IGN says that so much attention is paid to the offline mode that it's actually the online mode that feels secondary and tacked on. IGN pointed out that fans of Phantasy Star Online were angry that this installment of the franchise would use card-based battles. But in fact, IGN went on to write, this game addresses many of the issues with previous installments, that the single-player modes were not good, the story very weak, and the gameplay in desperate need of refinement. All things that IGN said have been massively improved with this game. You can grab this one today on eBay for the very reasonable price of about $12 loose and $16 complete. Number 2. And I debated including this game as just about everybody has already covered it as a hidden gem, making it perhaps not so hidden. But it perfectly fits the statistical criteria, and it's a damn good game in my opinion. With just 70,000 units sold, it's Ikaruga. Some might say this doesn't fit the exclusivity criterion, but the Dreamcast version of the game was only released in Japan, and not the United States like this GameCube version. IGN rated this one at an 8.3, and somewhat stunningly, GameSpot nearly gave Ikaruga a 9. That's huge for GameSpot, massive in fact. They gushed over the game and said that it takes 20 years of great game design ideas and puts a new spin on them in an elegant and beautiful package that will deeply challenge fans of space shooters. IGN went to great lengths to warn people of the difficulty of the game, but ultimately called it a must-have classic. Ikaruga is a little steep on the used market, currently available for around 35 loose and 55 complete. Number 1. With 60,000 units sold, it's Baten Kaitos Origins. IGN thought highly of this game with an 8.3, as did GameSpot with a 7.5. Like our number 3 entry, it's another RPG with a card-based battle system, one that IGN called visually stunning, with an awesome soundtrack and a good story that stretches over a 60-hour campaign. They gave the game their award for Game of the Month in September of 2006, calling it one of the GameCube's last great gems, and a brilliant reason to dust off the system before the new Zelda game would hit later that year. But be warned, both IGN and GameSpot said that the game was very difficult but worth the effort. You'll either love it or hate it, they said. You can pick this one up for $27 loose and around $41 complete. That's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I have some other Hidden Gems videos that you might want to check out, and I'd massively appreciate a like and a subscription if you do that kind of thing. And until next time, all the best, and the sky is the limit.